All right, welcome everyone. We're going to give folks a few minutes to join, and then we will do a quick intro about Acelab, show you guys how to get in touch with today's presenters if you have any questions that come up after today's event. And then we'll go ahead and get started with today's product presentation. Today is going to be a really cool new kind of format where we're going to get some live installation demonstrations. So it's going to be really exciting to showcase this to you all. And yeah, we're excited for you guys to check this out. All right, looks like we've got a good amount of folks jumping in. So Helen, whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Helen, and I'm going to walk you through what to expect after this webinar here in terms of follow-up from our team. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about what we have rolling out slowly to certain firms in an early access program. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. If you want to get in touch with the lovely folks presenting today, you can find their brand or any brand by typing in the search bar here, making sure you have brand selected, and then you can select Hovr here. This will take you to their page where you can see all kinds of information. You can connect with them by pressing this button here. You can see some examples. Like Bo said, you're going to get some live action demonstrations today of how to put some of these things together. And then their products here. You can then save their products into your library or to a project that you want to use them in. Also, clicking on each of these cards will give you a little bit more information about each of those different products. So really excited to have these folks here today. And I've been talking to a lot of firms actually who are looking for products like this for kitchens and all kinds of things like that. So I'm going to jump in and show y'all really quickly what we've been working on in Acelab. This is coming out for the general public in September, October. So this is our schedules functionality. If you want early access to this, we ask that you meet with me for about 30 minutes. What I like to do there is really understand your firm, how you work with your clients and contractors, because then we can kind of come up with a custom plan for y'all. This is going to take anything that you've saved into comparison. So if I'd saved these two products here, those would be showing here in my schedule. All these columns are custom for y'all. So world's your oyster. You know, we all know different firms, everyone works differently. So we didn't want to fence anyone in. You know, you can add as many columns as you want with all the information that you want. Some firms are using this as a really nice way to track client approvals. And then also a big one for folks, and I'll just go ahead and jump to another one that looks a little bit more intense, is this library application. So what you can do is you can create client-specific libraries. So whenever you're working with, say, you know, Toll Brothers again, you know what their typical insulation product is that you're using. And then you can just basically copy and paste some of these. Like, let's get a new project going. You can come in to your library, grab everything that you're going to be using on that next project, and just copy and paste it on over. So it's a really quick way to save on your kind of firm setup, or sorry, your new project setup. And again, there's all kinds of ways that we can tailor this. And that's what that 30-minute meeting is really about, is like how to best set this up for you and your firm. So with that being said, I'll pass it back to these folks, and you get to have some power tools maybe on the call. So that's fun. Always nice to mix it up a little bit. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Awesome. Thank you, Helen. If you're interested in coordinating a meeting with Helen, feel free to say yes to the poll we've got up now. She'll also throw her meeting link in the chat, so you can book directly there if you'd like. All right, awesome. Well, without further ado, I'd love to introduce Peter and Alex from the team at Hovr Solutions. They're going to be giving today's presentation, and whenever y'all are ready, feel free to go ahead and get started.
All right. Hi, as I said, I'm Alex from Hovr Solutions, and I'm excited to present today, and it should be fun to do this with Acelab here. So I'm just going to share my screen to the presentation, and then we can get started. Sorry, the computer's a bit slow. Just give me a sec. All right, so yeah, we're Hovr Solutions, and we make floating shelf bracket hardware. We're aiming to become the new industry standard in floating shelf hardware. And our website's hovrsolutions.com or hoverbracketsystems.com. So just a little overview of what we're going to go through today. We're going to look at who we are as a company, some of the current industry problems in the floating shelf bracket space. Then we're going to do a product overview and a demo as well. On the wall behind me here, we're going to take a look at some advantages of the Hovr bracket system, and then finally review pricing, resources, and reviews, which also goes partially into our advantages there. So starting off here, who we are, we're a small business. We're trying to disrupt the industry in floating shelf bracket hardware and other things. Our primary business is kind of design and research and development, and then intellectual property, marketing, and service. So we design and patent new products, we market those products, and then a large part of our business is also customer service, providing information to our customers and clients and businesses that we work with. So again, we mostly sell premium floating shelf brackets, the strongest, safest, easiest to install, and most versatile bracket systems on the market. We're a very online focused business as well, providing easy purchasing through our website. We generally provide free shipping as well. Again, a large aspect there is that easy access to knowledge of how our bracket systems work, and kind of helping our customers, and also trying to solve those problems for them, right? Which is why we came up with the bracket systems originally as well. We also deal with large commercial orders and deal with that distribution and logistics. And again, we're very service oriented and trying to get our product out there. So moving into the current problems, I'm going to go into more details on a lot of these, but mostly it's weak, unreliable, and unsafe solutions in the market right now. They're generally complicated, slow to install, and they lack a lot of versatility, adjustability, and generally have quite low weight ratings and not really standardized hardware. So going into weak, unreliable, unsafe floating shelves, generally, there's a lot of weight distribution inefficiencies currently on the market. For example, I've got the picture of the classic two-prong system, which is a very common kind of bracket system on the market. And you can see I added those two arrows there, kind of showing where all of the weight or force is being applied there on the bracket system. There's those specific points of failure right where those rods are. And also, generally they're multi-piece designs. And so wherever you're kind of have those pieces connecting is generally a point of failure. And that's what we see, with the prong system, for example. That generally the first part to fail is right where the back plate is connecting to the prong there. Again, because of those weight distribution inefficiencies as well. Again, average kind of load capacity in the industry is 30 to 50 pounds. And that's often not enough, especially for kitchen shelves and things. And you want to be safe and secure, and you want to make sure that your shelves aren't sagging, especially over time as well, right? And again, generally they're unsafe, weak locking mechanisms. Some things like the L bracket, for example, don't have any locking mechanisms. And then others, like you can see in that bottom right picture there, you've got the set screw, yes, but it doesn't really provide that much safety or much locking, and generally you're still going to get a bit of wiggle there between that rod and your shelf. So complicated and slow installation. This applies for shelf installs and wall installs. So in terms of installing into the shelf, you have to drill really straight, deep holes into your shelf in order to fit that bracket, those prongs in there. In a prong example, or if you're doing an L bracket, you still need to get that slit going and stuff. And then you also still have to router, for example, on the prong system, you'd still have to router that back plate in addition to drilling those huge holes. Also, lining up the set screws can be quite complicated. They're not at the back of the shelf, and you have to line them up with the rods and also in the location on the bottom of the shelf there. It's also difficult to include wiring and other kind of accessories there when you're doing the shelf install. So going over to the wall install, often wall adjustments or renovation are required for high load capacity hardware. Again, going back to the L bracket or the stud mounted bracket, you can see in the bottom left there. So that one would mount directly on the stud. But again, then you have to open your wall up, change for the stud mounted bracket, for example, you don't need to change much, but you have to take the drywall off in order to, use that application. Or if you're trying to make a hidden L bracket, again, you would have to take off that drywall. Often other wall adjustments also need to be made to kind of get the strength you're looking for. Also, there's going to be tedious adjustments in order for the bracket to hang properly on the wall. Again, you need to line it up. You don't have any adjustability from left to right. And in terms of the angle, a lot of the time it is straight, but on regular hardware, you do see those adjustments more likely need to be made. And again, also obviously, which goes into like a slow and complicated install, is generally a lot of these hardwares don't provide that strength, and that means there's going to be multiple visits by installers needing to come out and fix those sagging or failing shelves, which obviously takes a long time and costs more money as well. And then lacking installation information as well. The guides online and the help that you receive in order to install most bracket systems aren't really there. So that's a large part of it as well. Going into kind of the current versatility of bracket systems on the market, there's many design limitations for the two-prong systems, which we'll go through in a minute. But also, it's very non-standardized hardware, and there's different hardware for different applications, which work well for different applications, but they don't all work well for one application generally. And that's where we come in as the Hovr bracket system. And so I'll go through our products now and the solution that we came up with to make kind of the most versatile bracket system. So starting off, this is our classic line Hovr bracket system. I do have, we'll go through the demo of it in a minute. So it is a two-piece bracket system. You've got the male component, and then which goes onto the wall, and the female component, which goes into the shelf. You can see in that picture there on the left side, the very left top picture. Load capacity is 300 pounds, and that is in 2 wood studs at 8 inches off the wall. And and you get 2 screws per stud in this application, which again, when I demonstrate later, you guys will kind of understand that and see what I mean there. And that kind of gives us that extra load capacity as well. All our designs are patented, including the Hovr Classic line, which was essentially it's our bread and butter and our original really design that we sell. It's an 1.5 by 7/8 inch aluminum profile, and this one's really made for 2-inch shelving or thicker. There's no pre-drilled holes in the male bracket because we want you to be able to line those holes up with the studs properly. And again, you're going on the top and the bottom there, but the female side to put into the shelf does come with all the holes there. In terms of hardware, it's pretty general hardware. We have the 2.5-inch pan head screws for the attachment of the male bracket to the wall. We've got the 1.25-inch pan head screws for the female bracket to the shelf. Then we have 3/4-inch set screws for the locking mechanism, and those are 5/16 inch in diameter, which gives plenty of support for that locking mechanism. It also comes with a drill bit for those male bracket side holes and a hex key for the set screws. The only thing that's required on top of that hardware, because that all comes with the bracket, is the 17/64 inch drill bit and the 5/16 inch tap bit in order to make that set screw hole. You can see in that third picture there, that green line there is essentially the set screw. Now I just wanted to watch this video quickly, which just gives a quick video install guide of our bracket system here.
So first you create the channel by routing out the back of the shelf. Then you have enough space to put the female bracket into that channel. Secure it with the 1/4 inch
It's not full
and
screen, is
1/4
it?
inch screws. Sorry. And
Yeah,
this
so
is
here we're
where,
making the set screw holes here.
Yeah.
And that's going to be for the locking mechanism again.
that's lining up the studs. And there you can see the 2 screws per stud. And then it really acts like a French cleat, essentially, locking the 2 pieces together with the set screw.
That's the locking mechanism there. Once the set screws are tight, you've got a perfectly engaged shelf and should be level as well to the wall. So 90 degrees off the wall.
We have a very extensive knowledge base on our website to answer pretty much any question somebody has.
We're going to get to that as well in a minute. So, so yeah, that was the classic bracket. And then now we've got our slimline Hovr bracket system. This one really it was made for thinner shelving, 1.5 inches thick to 1 7/8 inches thick. So whenever you can't use the classic bracket because your shelf is too thin, we recommend using the slimline here. This one's 150-pound load capacity and 2 studs. This one's only 1 screw per stud, and that's why you kind of get a little bit less load capacity than on our classic bracket. Again, 1 1/8 inch by 7/8 inch aluminum profile. This one has pre-drilled holes on both the male and the female side, so it makes things a little bit easier. But again, you can see it works essentially the same way as our classic bracket and as all of our bracket systems. They all have the same kind of advantages and benefits and work essentially the same way, but are for different applications. This one, again, we're catering to the problems here in the industry. We notice a lot of people asking for a thinner profile bracket system for thinner shelving. So that's why we decided to come out and make one. So this one, the hardware is a little bit different. This one has number 12 wood screws for the male side. Those are 3.5 inch long. For the female side, they're 2.5 inch long to attach the female to the shelf, right? You get 1/2 inch set screws as well. Those are, again, the same diameter, 5/16 inch. So you use the same hex key and it provides kind of the same strength in terms of that locking mechanism. And again, it's the same bits required as well to make those set screw holes. Again, we're just going to take a look at this quick video. This one is much quicker and it's just kind of introducing the slimline Hovr bracket system.
For the ones who build it, fix it, and maintain it, there's Grainger. You can count on Grainger for industrial quality product.
Male has holes because it's a lot thicker than the classic male bracket, and it's more tedious to drill holes for that, which is why we opted to provide the slimline bracket, male bracket with pre-drilled holes.
So again, you can see here, it's just 1 screw per stud. But works the same way. And then you've got your set screws. And then you can see there a little bit of strength. But again, we're going to do this as a live presentation as well. So. All right, yeah, so that's a slimline bracket. And then moving on, we have our steel bracket. This was actually the original design, but then we revamped it after the classic bracket. So this one is really made for maximum strength for those floating benches, floating vanities, floating mantles, or anything where you really need that extra hold. This one holds up to 3,000 pounds. It's made to order. You can order this one anywhere from 2.5 inch to 7 inch tall in 1/2 inch increments. The depth is also 7/8 of an inch, so same as the classic and the slim brackets there. And they come in 4 to 8 foot lengths. Again, this one is really made for maximum strength, so it does have room to fit those lag bolts. And generally, there is some, blocking or requirement behind your shelf if you do want to kind of hold that much weight. Obviously the wall is going to be the first thing to fail there. And yeah, so those are our main kind of, bracket systems, our 3 bracket systems we offer today. And I'm just going to go through some of the advantages here of the Hovr bracket system. And again, this applies to all of the variants of our bracket systems, so the classic, the slim, and the steel bracket, because again, they all work the same way, but they're really for slightly different applications in all 3 variants, right? So again, we're going to go through strength and safety, the weight distribution advantages, the easy install of it, the surfaces you can use, the efficiency of it, and the versatility, and going through again our customer service. And then I've got a little bit of a load capacity to share as well through our knowledge base. And we're going to do the demo actually in a second here as well. So starting off with strength and safety. Again, we've got a much higher load capacity compared to other bracket systems. You could see earlier, right, our classic is 300 pounds, our slim is 150 pounds, and then we've got the steel bracket obviously rated much higher at around 3,000 pounds. And a large part of that higher load capacity comes from the weight distribution that we get through the Hovr bracket system. So you can see I kind of have this first picture here with the male Hovr bracket on the wall, and you can see because it's one piece that goes all the way across, you get an evenly distributed load across the entire back of the bracket. You can also see that it's one piece, so there's no specific points of failure, again, because of the weight distribution, but also there is no really multi-piece design. There is 2 pieces in terms of one goes in the shelf, one goes on the wall, but there's no points of failure really at those points, especially with the locking mechanism we have in there. Again, we use top quality materials, and then have that strong and safe set screw design, which we've talked about already. But you can see kind of down there in the bottom left those 2 diagrams of the classic and the slim, and how those set screws work there to kind of keep those brackets together and also fully engage them when they're on the wall. Which again, it makes for easy install and leads to a safe, strong shelf. So now going into easy install, again, we've got easier install both on the shelf and on the wall side. So on the shelf side, earlier we kind of talked about how you need to router and either drill deep holes or do something else for the shelf. With our bracket, you can see you only need to router out the back for those dimensions, which is again 1.5 inch by 7/8 inch for the classic, and 1 1/8 inch by 7/8 inch for the slim. It's easy to secure that female bracket to the shelf. It's that ordinary hardware we already talked about. And those holes are already drilled for you there as well. So it's really easy to just take a drill and drill those in. Also, we offer, we've got that channel, so there's room for easy wiring inside the bracket, or to make any of those other modifications you need to very easily. Then on the wall install side of things, the brackets go on top of any surface, so there's no need to, they go on hard and soft surfaces, so drywall to concrete to plywood. Even, you can put them on top of sheetrock walls and stuff, which we've seen people do. As long as you're keeping that bracket on the wall generally somewhat straight, then you should have no problem with going on top of really any surface. And the same goes for calling into most surfaces. You can go into wood or metal studs. You can go into concrete. You can do a drywall only installation. Of course, you're going to be sacrificing some of that load capacity if you do drywall only, but it's still possible. And same with a one stud installation. We'll get into a little bit more about the efficiency of that in a little bit here as well. We also have adjustability mechanics, which I'll show off in a minute when we do the live demo. Again, we can go left to right as well as adjust that angle, but generally that angle doesn't really need to be adjusted because of our set screw design. It ensures the proper connection between the male and the female bracket and kind of engages those two brackets together and makes sure that they're properly holding on the wall. Just another point here, the last point there is about most end users being able to install the bracket themselves. And it really is that easy, which is good also, you know, for a lot of the businesses we work with, for example, they will just send the shelf out as a package and have the end users or the customers install it themselves. So now I'm going to switch over to this cam and just do a live demo. Just stop sharing screen.
I just want to say one more thing that it has to be clear that the connection to the wall is always the part that's going to fail first. So the male and the female bracket do not come undone. The anchoring from the male bracket to the wall is always going to fail first. But we've done one in all drywall only with the easy load drywall anchors, and it still held 125 pounds. Sorry.
All right, so we're going to do the install of the classic bracket first. Now we've obviously already routed the shelf out, but essentially, as I was saying before, how customers would get this shipped in the business is with this bracket in the back here, these set screws are tight, right? And then customer just needs to loosen these up. They can take the male bracket out and the female bracket is in the shelf there. The set screws there at the bottom. So first step is taking the male bracket out and then lining it up wherever your studs are. And so I've got a stud here, here, and over here, but we're doing a 2-stud installation. So I'm going to take these two.
Those studs are 16 on center.
Yeah, and so you want to line it up, then you're going to take your pencil and mark out wherever your studs are. So you've got a stud here, over here, and then you're going to take the included drill bit, which is the 3/16" drill bit, and you're going to drill your holes wherever your studs are. I don't know how well you can see that, but we've got one hole on the top and one on the bottom, and it's right on those die lines there. And then again, this bar in the middle is that locking mechanism, right? So I've already pre-drilled these holes just to make it a little bit quicker, and because it's quite loud as well. So once you've got that,
a 16 on center studs, an 18-inch long bracket is enough to have a very secure installation.
Yeah, and we're going to go through the ratios of how to use the bracket system as well. So starting off with one top screw, just kind of hold that up there. Then grabbing our level and leveling this out. Then screw. And then doing the same thing on the bottom screws. And then you can just double check with the level to make sure you're nice and even on the wall, left to right. And then from there, you just take your shelf. Again, it already has the bracket in here, but the video earlier showed how we can router out that channel. And you just pop that on. And then you can see we're level here already, but then we just grab the included hex key as well and tighten up those set screws at the bottom. And again, once these are tight, that's going to fully set the two brackets at the back together as well and ensure you've got a perfect hold there. You can hear a couple clicks there. Again, that's just the bracket fully connecting with the other bracket there. And you want these really nice and tight. Because as you tighten them too, you're going to see that the two brackets are going to fully engage with each other more and more until you can't tighten these further.
And the slant has as an effect that the more you tighten it, the shelf itself is being pulled towards the wall. And in case you're wondering, this is on top of drywall directly.
Yeah, now once those set screws are in, that locking mechanism is locked. You can see it won't come up anymore or go down. And yeah, so then you're done there really. So that's our classic bracket. Now I'll do a quick weight test as well before we move on to the slim. So I've got 25-pound weights here. I'm just going to start putting them on.
I'll just make that one.
You can lean them or put them flat. Flat. So there's 100 pounds there. And I've only got two weights left here. 150.
And the shelf is 8 inches deep, so now the weights actually stick out by a good 4 inches.
They're really only half on here and half off. So these are about 11-inch weights. So essentially the weight distribution here is close to 11 inches off the wall, even though the shelf is only about 6 to 8 inches here. And again, this is 150 pounds of 2 studs at around 11 inches off the wall. And you know, you could still stack more. I'm just out of weights as well here. And again, that 300-pound load capacity is at 8 inches off the wall, and this is closer to that 10, 11-inch mark, as I said. So that's the classic bracket, and now we're going to install the slim bracket, which again, I've got another shelf here for as well, already routed with the male bracket still inside. So, and we just unscrew these set screws a little bit. Not all the way, because if you just do it a bit, then it's going to be easier to put them back in after.
Which is why you make the holes and tap those holes after you install the female bracket into the shelf, because then the wood itself is threaded as well.
So on this one here, I'm going to use a slightly smaller male bracket as well than the female side, so we can take a look at that left to right adjustability that I was talking about earlier as well. And again, this one's just 1 screw per stud, whereas the classic was 2 screws per stud. So similar again, you want to take your bracket, make sure it's the correct way up. Start with one screw and one stud. Grab your level again. You're nice and level. And take your other screw for your second stud. That's nice and level on there. Then you take your shelf, and again, same as before, just put this on here, flip it in. And again, since that male bracket is shorter than the female bracket here, you can slide it left to right. So you have some adjustability on the wall if you want it a little bit over to either side. And this is also really important for corner shelves, which we're going to go over in a little bit as well. And again, you just want to tighten up these set screws.
We usually recommend one set screw per foot of shelf. But if you have reinforced the wall between the studs with a 2x6, for example, you can now put multiple more screws to attach the male bracket to the wall, which gives you a lot more strength. And then we recommend, every 8 to 10 inches a set screw, and then the weight capacity is increased quite a lot.
So yeah, again, you want these set screws basically as tight as possible to really engage those two brackets together and ensure you've got a proper hold on the wall here. And for safety reasons, you want those nice and tight. Again, once those are locked, you can see it doesn't move. It's on there, nice and tight. This is probably only about a 4-inch shelf, but we're going to do the same thing. Remember, the slim line doesn't hold as much weight as the classic. They're going to fall if I put them out there. So.
Well, du kannst nicht so viel.
Stand them up. Because now more than half of the weight is actually overhanging in the front.
So there's 100 pounds there. And I'm not going to put any more on here because, again, this is hanging out to about 11 inches here. And generally at 12-inch out on the slim bracket, we only recommend a 75-pound load capacity, 75 to 100. Whereas at 8 inches, it'd be 125. And then at 4 inches, it'd be 150. Again, there's only one screw per stud, and you can see in the back here. Well, you guys can't, but I can see in the back here that the screws are starting to come out of the wall, but the brackets are still engaged with each other on here, right? So again, as Peter was saying, it's that connection to the wall that's going to fail first, right? Not our bracket systems. And then once those come off again, because of the locking mechanism and how the system works, this basically just builds right back up, being 90 off the wall there. And yeah, so that's our classic and slimline brackets, how to install them quick and easily.
Thank you, Alex.
Back to the rest of the PowerPoint presentation now. All right, so we covered easy installation, and then we did our installation demo there as well. So moving on to efficiency and versatility, as was already mentioned, generally the bracket can be used at a 3:2 ratio of wood to bracket. So if you've got a 3-foot shelf, you can use a 2-foot bracket and still get the recommended load capacity as per, you know, our load. Again, for the classic, that's 300 pounds in two wood studs at 8 inches off the wall when the weight is distributed evenly. But we will go over how we measure load capacity later on as well when we take a look at the knowledge base. So, but anyway, so that's how you can use the bracket to be more efficient. Then on top of that, you can also sacrifice some strength for more cost effectiveness and use a much more extreme ratio. So you can even go half or even less than half. But then, of course, you will be sacrificing potentially some of that load capacity. But if you're just looking for a cheap solution that doesn't really need to hold as much weight, that's definitely an option you can go with. Another really important point about the efficiency of the bracket is the fact that it's aluminum and uniform, meaning that, you know, the length that you get, you can cut into any amount of lengths that you want, and you'll still be able to use it. Compare that to, for example, to a prong system, right? If you've got 2 prongs, you can't cut that down the middle and use half and half. But with our bracket, because it is aluminum and uniform, you can easily cut it, and you can cut that anywhere along the length of that bracket and still be able to use it appropriately. And that kind of also goes into the standardized brackets that we sell, the standardized hardware that we sell, and the standardized installation instructions. Again, we have different variants of bracket that are meant for different applications, but they all essentially work the exact same way, and that kind of standardizes the entire solution that we offer. In terms of versatility as well, there's many shelf designs that weren't previously possible with some of the other bracket systems, or again, you might have to sacrifice one thing for another, as we talked about earlier. But regardless of that, there's still a lot of applications, which we'll see on the next few slides, that aren't possible with other bracket systems. They're also easily movable with minimal damage to the wall. I could go ahead and take these off, put them a foot down, or put them somewhere else, and you're only going to get those small holes where the screw went into the wall, which is really easy to patch as well. Again, adjustability, which we showed off as well. You can go left to right. You can also angle that. We've got a lot of information about that on our knowledge base as well. So you can definitely go through that on our website or our Help Juice page. Again, we already mentioned it, but many different installation options. You can go into drywall only or one stud, sacrifice some of that load capacity, or, you know, go into different types of walls and more of that, right? And another big aspect of versatility here is that our bracket is made for everyone, right? It's made for professionals and your DIYers or your average consumers, because anyone can install it. And we've kind of made the entire process simple, and you're not sacrificing strength or safety for ease of use. And that's why it really is made for everyone. So here's just a couple examples of some shelving you can't do with other systems. For example, a hidden drawer shelf or a drawer shelf, shoe racks, because you've got that angle, right? You only really have room on the back. We've had people do marble and granite with our steel bracket as well, marble and granite shelves. You know, you can do a dog bowl shelf or something, you know, something that's inside your shelf, which wouldn't be possible otherwise. again, like river epoxy shelves as well, right? You can't really do with those prongs sticking out or anything. And you can still use our bracket exposed or semi-exposed as well. Meaning if you don't have a router or you don't know how to use a router and get that groove in the back, you can still use the Hovr bracket system. We've even had people just get 2x4s or 2x6, 2x8, put the bracket on, just screw it right on the back and then put it on their wall from there. And you're still going to get similar strength, although a little bit less because you don't have the extra surface area at the bottom of your shelf there. And corner shelves, again, this is kind of what I mentioned earlier with adjustability, right? We made corner shelves much easier to do because you've got that slight adjustability left to right, which means you can kind of butt up your shelves against each other, whether you're going with a miter or just a flat butt of two shelves. Both, you know, are easy to do because you've got that extra adjustability there, which otherwise you basically would need to be 100% perfect to get those to butt up and line up with each other there. So moving on to resources, this goes into our advantages as well, because we offer a vast knowledge base and information on our products, on you know, our website, and also our Help Juice page there. We've got guides and bracket accessories for installation onto any wall on our website. We go through how to do those different installations. We offer those accessories on our website. We offer those installation guides, again, through video, image, and text galleries, and really catering to our customers and making sure that they understand the bracket, because this is kind of a new system, right? So, and to back up that new system, we have that information and those guides to kind of help you through that. And so you can learn a little bit more about the system. I just want to go quickly through an example on our knowledge base, load capacity based on depth. This is just kind of one of the, an example of what you can expect on our website, and the articles and the knowledge that you can get from our bracket system, which, you know, again, helps customers, helps the businesses that we work with, etc. So here you can see kind of what we were talking about with that depth rating. So loading above the recommended depth. Again, our recommended is 8-inch to hold 300 pounds. So you can see that the center load at 8 inches is at 4 inches, and that'll be where you get 300 pounds spread across the entire shelf evenly. And we give examples of if you're going 12-inch or 16-inch. And again, this is for the classic. We have the same thing for the slim. And we kind of give a little explanation as well about all this. You know, as shelf depth increases past the recommended 8-inch, the load capacity decreases. When objects are placed past the center line, the load capacity will decrease even more rapidly. Again, as you go further out, you know, you're getting that force to be exponentially higher the further you go out, just simply because of leverage. And you can see we go through the same thing at 3 studs and 4 studs as well, and then give a little explanation of how that force builds up and where it builds up. As I mentioned, if you have more surface area there at the base of your shelf, you're going to get generally a higher load, because the pressure that's building up at the bottom there is, first of all, building up across the entire length of the bracket and shelf, as we already talked about, but also the more surface area, the more evenly that weight is going to be distributed across that. So if you have a really thin bottom of your shelf, there's obviously going to be more force across that thin part of it than if you've got a thicker part, then you've got more room to kind of distribute that force out, right? And again, it shows that exponential increase of downward force as you go further out from the wall. So that's just kind of an idea here of one of the examples. Again, we cover this on the slim line as well, and a lot of other support, right? That's just one of our, you know, hundreds of articles that we have here on our Hovr support page. And again, we have additional videos and everything else there as well. So just an example there of some of the knowledge and information we offer on our website. So just taking a look at the reviews as well quickly. So the classic bracket, you know, we've been selling this one for about 6 or 7 years. These are the reviews from our website and Amazon here. You can see they're all incredibly positive. Even some of the ones that aren't that positive generally aren't about how the system works. It might be about our shipping and stuff. But again, 95% of these are really positive. And we also work through these reviews and adjust and gather feedback of some of the things that we might want to do next. So I'll just go through one of these here. I've been using the Hovr brackets for years, and they are the best floating shelf hardware there is out there. Easy to install and never get calls back about sagging floating shelves. You know, easy install and efficient. Customer service was very quick to respond and helpful in answering questions. So you can see those are kind of go back into sort of the main you know, pillars of Hovr here, right? And again, Hovr Slim here reviews, less reviews because it's a newer product as well, but you can see they're mostly positive. And again, the whole reason we brought the Hovr Slim was because of the reviews, people asking, you know, about a thinner shelf and a thinner shelf bracket. So I'll just read this top one here. Kitchen shelves. We put in solid maple wood shelves with the Hovr bracket system, slim and love them. The shelves are 12-inch wide, 1 3/4 inch thick, and have 2 lengths. The brackets work nicely right over top of tile, and they were installed directly on top of the tile, which there is, again, lots of information on our website regarding that information. Yeah, again, another one underneath here, he used standard 2x8 boards, this customer specifically is happy because he didn't need to drill those long holes as you would, for example, with the prong system, like we covered already as well. And there's just a couple more reviews there. And then this is our sale options and pricing here. And so for retail pricing, the classic and the slim line are priced the same, and we sell them in the same variants, which is the 2 foot, the 4 foot, or the 8 foot length. The 2 foot is $49.99, a 4 foot is $89.99, and an 8 foot is $169.99. And then we have our volume pricing, again, directly right on our website. If you order 10 brackets in Canada or 8 brackets in the USA, you get a 10% discount on that directly on our website. Obviously, for our larger customers, we offer further discounts, and then we have crate pricing for our distributors and retailers as well, if there's any interest there. And we also do just sell those crates at the distributor prices for anyone, you know, who's using the bracket. Maybe we've got quite a few clients or customers who will just buy the crates from us, 8 foot length crates, and they'll use all those in their projects. I'd be happy to also send over any pricing on request for that. So that's the presentation, and we can get into any questions if there are any.
There are some. I can answer them or Bo, how do we do this?
Yeah, so if it sounds good, I usually just start kind of reading them out, and you guys can answer. We'll see how many we get through. All right, awesome. So we're going to start off here with, are there any application limitations that would be helpful to be aware of? Would the bracket be suited for exterior applications?
Yeah, so the bracket can be used for exterior applications too. It is aluminum, and it's not really going to rust or anything like that. Really, probably the main downside there is going to be if you're the type of shelf that you have. You know, if you've got like a wood shelf which is unstained and you leave it outside in the rain, it could warp and stuff like that, and that'll kind of you know, lead to maybe some inefficiencies there and stuff. But overall, yes, it can be used, but yeah, Peter's shaking his head here a bit, so I don't know. But...
Yeah, the only limitation I see is with the steel bracket for outside use, or in showers, for example, where if the connection from the shower seat that is installed with a steel bracket or outside, and the rain gets behind it or the water gets behind it, it's steel. which will rust over time. It'll take a long time though, many, many years. But you might get streaks of rust coming out from underneath. That's only for the steel bracket, not the aluminum bracket. But if you silicone it correctly and waterproof it, then no water can get inside, and then you won't have that issue either. But those are the only limitations I can see in that.
Exactly. And then there is one more that I would like to share as well. And it's not necessarily a limitation, but what we have noticed is the longer of a bracket or the longer of a shelf you have, the harder that is going to be, it's going to be a little bit more finicky to install those and engage those two brackets together. You know, we've had a lot of people make 8-foot, 10-foot shelves with success. And yeah, even 16 feet and longer, and it does work well. But as with also any other bracket system, if you're going that long, it's going to be a little bit of a harder time to get that bracket or to get that shelf onto the wall lined up properly, just because you have so much more room to work with that you might, you know, if you're off a little bit on one end compared to the other, you might need to adjust that a little bit more than if you're doing like a 2-foot shelf or a 4-foot shelf or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable, and people do it with no issue at all often, but it is something that you might want to be aware of before getting into, you know, a really long shelf project.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Looks like we've got a few questions regarding limitations to the length of the bracket itself, or if there's a custom length option. And this person gives an example about a client project where they were looking for a solution to create an angled wood privacy screen mounting to the floor and the ceiling. The contractors were challenged to come up with a solution that didn't involve opening the ceiling and the floors, but this seems like it could work for that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And for custom length, I mean, we offer it in 2, 4, and 8 foot, but as Alex said during the presentation, you can cut it pretty much with an hacksaw to any length you want, and putting them side by side is not a problem either. As we just mentioned, we had a few customers who did floating shelves of 16 feet long. They just took 2 8-footers and put them next to each other.
Okay.
But that's
you just
obviously
need to make sure you're lined up if you're doing that as well on the wall as well.
And that's the challenge. I mean, after maybe 3 or 4 studs in line are still level to each other, but as soon as you go to 6, 7, and 8 stud, one is going to be off, and you might have a bow or a concave. But you can manage it if you get a little bit into it and with water.
Yeah, it still works well. You just need to do a little bit more adjusting than what you would have to do, for example, like on an install like I did today, where the shelves are shorter, and it doesn't really matter if you're off by even a 1/4 inch, you'll be able to get that bracket on. But if you've got a really long length and then you're off by a 1/4 on one side and a 1/4 by the other side, to get that in there, just because of all the force you have with that bracket on the wall as well, you're going to have a tougher time. But often it also works out perfectly, right? This is just some scenarios where it does take a little bit more adjusting, as you know, really with anything. And yeah, as Peter already mentioned, in terms of size limitations, there aren't really any, because we have that aluminum and uniform bracket. So our suggestion is always to buy the 8-foot bracket and then to cut what you need from that 8-foot, because it is the best priced per foot. And again, you get those efficiencies out of the 8-foot where you can cut it to exactly what size you need, and whatever you have left over, you can use in another project as well.
Let me quickly explain that 1/4 inch, which Alex mentioned. So let's say we have 3 studs, and the middle one is a little bit further back than the other 2. You can leave a 1/4 inch between the wall and the back of the male bracket, which means you're not bending the bracket now because you're not tightening that middle one, up to a 1/4 inch, and there's no loss of integrity or weight capacity.
Okay, great. All right, it looks like we are at about 2 p.m. So I'm just gonna say quickly for any folks who are jumping out that There will be a quick post-event survey, so if you've got some time to leave some comments or questions for us there, that's super helpful for us, and we appreciate everyone coming out today. There are a few questions that we have gone unanswered, but we have a record of all of those, so we'll get those over to the team at Hovr. They can follow up with you after today's event, but really appreciate everybody asking so many great questions and coming out today.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Yeah, I can maybe answer some of these questions like just over text as well, or
we'll provide them all in a report to you right after the webinar, so we can, you can follow up with these folks over email.
okay, sounds great.
All right. Thanks everyone so much. Have a good day.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.